I look at pictures and I could quite honestly stand there. When I took that photo, I looked in the mirror and I was like, I am fucking huge. I am fat. Like, this is gross.
And what size were you at that point?
A size 4.
Wow.
So my lowest weight, I was just under 6 stone. It literally is a battle with your own brain. I had really bad body dysmorphia, really, really bad. I had a good upbringing. That's where the daddy issues kicks in. When I was 5, Mum married my stepdad and he's raised me from being 5 years old. But before that, I thought my sister from my mum's previous marriage, I thought her dad was my dad until I was 10. Found out who my biological dad was, and then when I was 21, I think it was, my biological dad found me. We kind of started to build a relationship, but he was on and off heroin. Got a phone call that he was in hospital, accidental overdose. His friend was found dead at the scene. He ended up in intensive care for at least a good month and a half. Travelling to and from Birmingham, juggling 2 kids, working full time. And he did get clean. But
After this incident?
Yeah, so he did get clean, but then in 2021, he passed away.
Okay.
And that's the one thing that I was really proud of him for. Like, he promised me he would and he did.
How did you feel when you heard that he passed away? Like,
it was a very strange feeling because I didn't know why I was crying. The funeral, the wait for the funeral was so long with it being locked down. So it was nearly 2 months after he passed away that the funeral happened. Even when I went to the funeral, like, I walked in and I stood there and I was just like, everyone was crying. The feeling I got then was anger. They were getting up and speaking about Colin this and Colin that, and remember when we did this, and I stood there and I was like, you've all got memories, I've got fuck all.
so I just want to stop you just for one moment here. Now, I want to thank you, first of all, for the growth of the podcast. It's been absolutely amazing. It really, really has. And it means a lot for you guys to, to comment, to share, and to, support the show, because these guys really pour their heart out, obviously, as you know. And it's something I want to help push out to people so that everybody understands that no matter who you are, where you are, what you've done, there's always weak periods in your life, but there's always strong periods as well. And talking about strong periods, I want to give you a freebie as a thank you. Go to the link on YouTube where you'll find it in the description. If you're on Spotify or Apple, you'll notice it's on Apple, but on Spotify it isn't. So there you can go to my Instagram, D-Maiden Official, and you'll find it on my bio there. But go to this and make sure you put this and implement it into your life. It will change the way you see everything. This really has re-energized myself. If you're like me and you work really hard and you don't know when your down periods are, and you think, I will sort them soon, I will plan something at some point, and they don't happen, this will change your life, because this is a full year plan of planning your yearly breaks. And the way that I've sort of like broke it down and everything, it is going to help you and change your life so that it re-energizes you, and it also keeps you focused on track when you're working to know exactly when your dates are that you're having down periods. Other than that, get yourself into this podcast. Okay, so Lara, welcome to the studio.
Hello.
Thanks for coming over today. And also, I want to, like Zach pointed out a minute ago, I want to praise you on the fact that your car broke and you still got here.
I did.
There's a lot of people that like those excuses, don't they? Of life falls to bits and they can't make it.
I had to get the train.
Yeah.
It means I don't have to drive.
No, I love it. How long did it take you, did you say?
40 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 40 minutes.
I like your dedication. I appreciate it.
So, I'm very dedicated. In true style, though, I got here an hour early. I was actually at the train station.
Yeah, well, to be fair, when you got here, I was like, shit, are we behind or are you? Yeah. But no, I love it. So, Lara, just tell everyone who you are, what you do. Try and keep it short, because I'm then going to dig into other stuff anyway. But who are you? What do you do?
I'm Lara.
What is your second name?
Jade. No, wait, my middle name.
Sorry, your surname.
Patine,
that was it. When you said it earlier, I didn't quite hear it, but yeah, Patine.
It used to be my middle name, now it's my last name.
Yeah, got you. We'll get to that bit.
What do I do?
So as in, like, what's your focus? What's your passion? Where things are at? Like, obviously, you said you've been out of training for quite a while now, haven't you?
Yeah. my focus is learning to love me. That's probably it, really. That it's knowing that you've not got, like, for me, it's been about learning that I don't have to fit in a particular box, and just learning to love who I am, where I am, and not where I was or where I'm gonna be. Just
being
where
present.
I am now.
I like it. Yeah, and has that for you come from trauma sort of thing? Has that come from an area that you've had to improve on because of a reason?
Yeah, body wise, I've always struggled massively. And then as growing up, teenage and everything, never bothered, wasn't interested. Like, I didn't care about what size I was or shape I was. But it was after having kids that really affected me.
Yeah. And to be fair, you were young having kids, weren't you, really? 17 daughter, was it?
17 for my daughter, 20 for my son, yeah. Like with my daughter, I was huge, absolutely huge. Lost a lot of weight afterwards, then fell pregnant with my son and was petrified of gaining a lot of weight again. So kind of took it into my own hands and exercised, watched what I was eating, like very, very cautious with what I was eating. And then it kind of spiraled from there.
Before we go into that, I do want to know your upbringing though, because I know that's the sort of like the big trauma, if you want to call it that, throughout your life, right? Where we're heading towards. But what was your upbringing like? Was you, what was it? You know what I mean? What was the parenting sort of situation? And
I had a good upbringing. That's where the daddy issues kicks in. Yeah, so try and make this as short as possible.
Make it long, don't worry.
When I was 5, my mum married my stepdad, and he's raised me from being 5 years old. But before that, I thought my sister, from my mum's previous marriage, I thought her dad was my dad.
Yeah.
Till I was 10. And then I actually found out he wasn't. So I actually
Is that because you were led to believe that, or you mean that was your own instinct to think that? Right, got you.
So so even when my mum married my stepdad when I was 5, I'd still go over with my sister to see my dad. Found out who my biological dad was, and then my sister's dad never spoke to me again. Completely, just that was it, done.
Okay. Out of his choice.
Yeah, that was it. As soon as he knew that I knew he wasn't my dad, he was kind of.
Was that down to your reaction, or was that his choice of just
his choice?
Now you know I'm out.
Literally just out, gone. Then when I was 21, I think it was, my biological dad found me on Facebook. And we kind of started building a relationship from there. I know that him and my mum had a very traumatic relationship. She married him when she was 18. But yeah, we kind of started to build a relationship, but he was on and off heroin.
What was their trauma? Do you know what that was?
Not really. Mum's never really went in detail with a lot of it. So it's not really. It was just one of them. I thought I don't really want to. Like, it's not that I didn't want to know, but at the same time, I was just like, I'm not. I get that he did things that were bad in the past, but I'm not one of those that just cuts people off because of that reason.
Yeah.
Like, there's got to be more to someone.
No, I get that. I think it's important that we do that as well, because otherwise I could tell you to hate him, hate her, hate, you know, and we could all start then, you know, I think you have to have that own moment of sting, don't you, for it to be.
That's it. So, like, granted, we didn't have, we've not got a father-daughter relationship. We'd not seen him since I was 2 years old. But yeah, we started to build a relationship, and then it'd go really well. Then he'd kind of dip out for a little while again, and like that's when I knew he was using again. Then he'd kind of come back in the picture, then he'd be back out the picture, and it kind of went back and forth. And then the end
So did
of,
you know he was using it, like, when you was young then? Did you know that was a thing and you knew what was happening?
No idea. Up until I found out who my dad was, and then, but that was it. Like, there was never any conversations. So growing up, I think when I was a teenager especially, I kind of always felt like there was part of me that I didn't know. Like, there was half of me missing. Because now, what I'd always believed wasn't true.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was kind of like, well, who is this person? Where is this person? Do I look like this person? Which I definitely do. But yeah, so it was definitely quite hard when I was a teenager.
The thing is, it's hard, isn't it, as a child to be in life, because you're trying to work out life, aren't you? Let alone then having those. That's not, at school they've got this.
I was
I've
way
not
too
got
young
this,
to have
and-
known. Like,
Yeah,
I feel
stuff-
like I should have, even though it would have been, a bit shit. Like, I would rather have waited till I was older to be told.
No, yeah.
I was like 10 years old's a bit. I'm 10.
It's a very
My son's only just 11. Like,
You know how the mental age is at that
Yeah.
point, don't you? Yeah.
but yeah, and then towards the end of 2018, I think it was 2019, got a phone call that he was in hospital, accidental overdose. His friend was found dead at the scene. They took him in. He ended up in intensive care for at least a good month and a half. I was travelling to and from Birmingham, because that's where I was originally born, in Birmingham. Travelling to and from Birmingham, juggling 2 kids, working full time. And he did get clean. But
After
then,
this incident, yeah?
So he did get clean, but then in 2021, he passed away.
Okay.
So it was the very last lockdown that we had. Basically, everyone always said he was like a cat. He had, he thought he had 9 lives, and it caught up with him. Years and years of drug abuse, but he got clean. That's the one thing that I was really proud of him for. Like, he promised me he would, and he did.
But how?
It was like the infection. So basically, like, from obviously just infections, and that his body was constantly trying just to fight off every infection going. And with the lockdown as well, he was struggling with his medications, getting them and things like that. And it was like an infection around his heart. And obviously that just...
You don't know what's happening, do you? Like, especially, taking that level of drug, you don't know what's actually happening inside, do you?
That's it. So it was clean for probably just shy of a year and a half. So that's probably the longest he'd done. And it was the infection that ended up killing him.
How did you feel when you heard that he passed away? Like,
it was a very strange feeling, because I cried, but then I didn't know why I was crying, because I didn't know if I was meant to feel sad.
Yeah.
Because then it was like I knew the rest of my family felt really sad, like on my dad's side, and I was like, but they've got more of a reason to feel sad.
The connection. And
yeah,
everything,
like, should I? And then it was kind of like justifying whether I should feel sad. Should I feel sad? Then the wait for the funeral was so long with it being lockdown. So it was nearly 2 months after he passed away that the funeral happened. And even when I went to the funeral, like, I walked in and I stood there and I was just like, everyone was crying. And then the feeling I got then was anger, because people were talking about, they were getting up and speaking about, Colin this and Colin that, and remember when we did this, and I stood there and I was like, you've all got memories. Like, I've got fuck all.
Yeah.
But I've got nothing. So then it was kind of, after that, it was like, now I was angry at him. I was angry at him, I was angry at them. Like, I was just angry at everybody. Like, I hate that saying, I hate it when people go, oh, it's not fair. I hate that. But at the same time, it was like, it wasn't fair.
No, I get it.
Like,
I guess as well, at that point, it was really hard for you to manage your emotions because of what you think you should be feeling, what you are feeling, what you're then feeling over the top of what you feel. I do, yeah. And so often in those situations, people panic, don't they? And then they say and do things that they probably wish they didn't.
Yeah.
You know, I've actually seen that firsthand with something very similar to that situation.
Yeah, like I panicked. I just panicked. Because it was a case of like, well, I just didn't know how I was meant to feel. Like, technically we were estranged. It was an estranged relationship. Like there wasn't that, you know, daddy-daughter kind of bond sort of thing. There was none of that there. Essentially, we were two strangers.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that was my dad. And it was like, when I've seen people who have lost a parent and how much they grieve and how sad they are and things like that, and I was like, but should I feel that? I was like, I don't feel that towards him.
But you know the answer is you shouldn't feel anything, right?
Yeah.
Deep down, you know that there is no right and wrong, is there?
Yeah, there was no, and people would say to me all the time, like, you just feel how you feel. You just,
no, it's
you
true.
know, and I was like,
true.
yeah, but, and I'd sit there and be like, but how do I feel? How am I meant to feel?
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a tough.
How do you feel today? Do you know what I mean? Thinking like about that, like, do you feel any different now as time has passed? Or do you still...
I feel sad.
Do you now know how you feel, though? Do you know what I'm trying to say? Do you feel like you've put it to bed?
I think I've put a lot of it to bed. I think the one thing that probably still gets to me a bit now is, like, we should have had more time. Like, I finally got him in my life, and then it was kind of, like, ripped away again. And this time, there's no coming back from this one.
Yeah. And do you think that's a fault of you or him?
That's him. It's not me.
Yeah.
Because even when he was going back to using again, I still kept trying to contact him. I still kept trying to speak to him. And I won't completely blame him. I think at the end of the day, drugs like that, getting away from that's hard. Like, you know, so... I'm at peace with the fact that I'll never blame him for his drug use. I won't, because I think for a lot of people it takes a tipping point in your life to reach something like that, and the unfortunate thing is with things like that, one time and you're hooked, that's it. Getting out of it's hard. But yeah, I think for me now it is just a case of, like, we didn't get more time.
Yeah.
He was only in his 50s.
It's sad, isn't it?
Like, yeah. So, and it breaks my heart when I see people, like, I wouldn't say that I get jealous, but when I see people have, like, such close relationships with their dads and kind of stuff like that, like, it's just the little things, like, that's the man that should have taught me how to ride a bike.
Yeah.
I know it sounds just trivial stuff, small things, but yeah. Thankfully, though, my stepdad, who brought me up from being 5, I mean, well, he went one step further. He taught me how to ride a motorbike. So, but yeah, he was a big part of my life until a few years ago. So,
what happened there?
Him and my mum got divorced after about 25 years.
Yeah.
And things just went very sour on their part, and he met somebody else and things like that, and then it was just, I think a lot of what had actually happened with them kind of had a big effect on the relationship with me and my sister, like with him.
Because that's your sister's dad, yeah?
No. So there was my dad, there was my sister's dad, who I thought was my dad.
Yeah.
And then there was my mum's previous partner, who I kind of always classed him as my dad. Like, from 5 years old, you know, that's when he started bringing me up, and he'd always treated me as his own. That was it. There was never, you know, any questioning or doubt or anything. Like, that's what it was like. Yeah, things got really sour with them, and he's quite a stubborn person. So yeah, we've not spoken. I have messaged him, tried to, and he's blocked me on everything.
So again, that's his side, yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of just thought, well.
Do you feel that you need a father figure?
I don't need one. Like, I've faced enough in my life myself. Like, I don't need one. Would I like one? it'd be nice, yeah.
Mm.
Because growing up, I was a daddy's girl. That's what I was like. So then kind of to go from that to nothing. But as far as it goes for needing one, not a chance.
Because people say that a girl needs a father figure more than a boy does, because it's that, I think it's that like whole, you know, protection and things like that, and they feel like that's their go-to for protection. But at the same time, you know, when you go through life and you realise that you are, you know, you're independent and you've actually got yourself where you are. And I think obviously it sounds like you've been, I'd probably say, stung a few times in that respect, haven't you? Like, obviously losing those father figures.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But from what I hear though, you've obviously stood on your own 2 feet every time. Do you know what I mean? And you
like, the way I see it is, obviously I fell pregnant at 16. My relationship with men clearly just did not ever start off great from being a kid. My daughter's dad was just, he's harmless, but he never stepped up. So I worked full time at 16 years old to provide. I got the whole, Mum and Dad were comfortable, so I got a lot of judgment. Mummy and Daddy will pay for everything, blah blah blah. They didn't. I did. I was pregnant with a child. I was stepping up myself, and I think from there it was like, going back to where you said, like, obviously, did you feel like you needed, you know, like a protector kind of thing? I became a protector. Like,
yeah.
I had a baby.
You took that role on.
Yeah, so she needed someone to fall back on, and even still to this day, she doesn't have a very close relationship with her dad. Her dad's like really unwell now, but so she's with me pretty much 24/7.
Your daughter,
yeah, my eldest.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love it because we're like best friends, but I do think having a young made a big difference, because when it's just me and her in the house and stuff like that, like, we're just like housemates. It's just funny. But yeah, that was it. Like, I had children after that. It was, I think I try not to stop and think about it too much, because I think if I stop and think like, oh, I could just really do with the cuddle. Like, do you know, that kind of, I can get myself in a bit of a shitty headspace then, because then I start thinking like, oh my God, and woe is me, and I don't want to be like that. So
do you not think it's also important to connect with that part of you?
I do. But being my father's daughter, I carried the traits of the very, very stubborn. So sometimes I'm very stubborn even with myself. So it's kind of like, nope, I've got to keep stepping up. I have to keep stepping up. I have to keep being the provider, being the go-to, being the one that runs them here, there, and everywhere. Like, I'm that person.
But then, do you get that balance?
What do you mean?
As in, like, you know, because obviously if you're always that person, sometimes I always say this, and I said this at the workshop the other day, I'm a lion, yeah, but some days I'm a pussycat. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, you got to, we've got to understand that we're not a lion every day.
Yeah.
You know, so if you're acting this, you're not acting it, you are this, yeah? So, but if you're this, every day you're this lion, do you not want to sometimes go, you know what?
I am saying this publicly right now, which is, I am the biggest soft ass in the world. Like, I always get that, but people always look at me and they always go, I thought you was a bitch when I first met you. And I was like, it's my face. Like, everyone always thinks I'm a bitch when they first meet me. And...
Well, I didn't think that, just so you know.
Thanks. But again, I think it's because I've always said I let people see what they are allowed to see. You only get access to so much of me. You have to earn the rest. So I do get told that sometimes I can look very cold.
Closed.
Very closed off.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, but you've not earned... Too many people have been let in and then destroyed those parts of me, and I've had to rebuild everything again. So not everybody gets that. Like, you have to earn that. But then at the same time, behind closed doors, like with my partner, this is probably the first ever stable, happy relationship I've been in my life. With my partner, I am the biggest soft ass ever. Like, I'm a whole baby. Like, literally.
But that's also good because you're allowing that to happen.
Yeah.
With, you know, obviously with her, and then obviously you're feeling in a place that you should be able to feel at some points of your life.
It's almost like, because it's like regressing, isn't it? Like, you kind of, like regressing a bit into that childlike kind of, basically I'm with someone who lets the inner child in me feel safe.
Yeah.
I can just be this, sometimes I'm a big ass whiny baby, and she's not bothered by it in the slightest. And I love it.
Is that what a girl wants?
But would you say you then wear the trousers as such on the outside as, and I don't mean that in a piss-taking way. I mean that as in, would you guide, you're guiding your relationship well though, yeah? Because obviously on the outside, if you're this person that's doing lots for other people, you're trying to say you're well in control of everything, then at home you're this soft little pussycat, as you said.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So do you then make sure the relationship is really healthy by you standing up for it?
I think both of us really, because we're both scary. Like, it's scary how much we are the same. And I think for me it's always been a struggle of being with someone who as I've always said, I don't need somebody to try and change me. Like, each thing I've been through in life, it's broke me that little bit more. It's changed me that little bit more. It's altered me. And I hate when people get in relationships and kind of go with the mindset of, I can fix this person. I don't want to be fixed.
Yeah.
I want to be accepted and understood. This is who I am. This is how I am.
It's actually a very common trait though, isn't it? Like, a lot of people fall for people for that reason.
Yeah. And whereas with my partner, she always says to me, like, I don't want to change you. She's like, you are absolutely crackers. Like, I mean, when the ADHD flares up in both of us, we're bouncing off the ceiling. But we both accept each other and understand each other. And I think we've both got an understanding as well of, like, if I'm having a day where my head's just not there, it's kind of a bit all over the place, because she gets the same, she knows where to go. Okay, she wants a cuddle, or okay, she needs some space. So there's just, the dynamics are so different. Like, there's so much more understanding and everything. Yeah.
Do you think that sometimes can be because you are with another woman? Do you know what I'm trying to say? This is actually a genuine question here, because I don't know the answer. Like, is that because, you know, I've never had a boyfriend. I mean, I've had a guy that was that close to him, may as well have been a boyfriend. You know, but we got each other. Like, I mean, sadly, I don't speak to him no more. He was my best mate for years and years. It's a real sad situation. We don't speak anymore. But he was the sort of person that all we need to do is look at each other or nod, or you know what I mean. We get each other inside out. Inside out. And I think, like, when you think about, like, when you're very similar to someone, and if you're the same sex, I'm assuming this is a thing, right? You get each other even more. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Is that a thing?
You know, when it's two women, I do really believe that when it's two women are built emotionally different to men.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think when it's two women, emotionally, you can understand things a little bit better. At the same time, I just want to put it out there to everybody, when they say being with a woman must be so much easier, it's not.
But the thing is, it can't be, can it? Like, there's no easier.
There's two lots of estrogen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, that one time a month?
It's double.
Oh, it's savage.
You just got to make sure it's like, I hope it's opposites,
no,
right?
It's not. No. So it's, we kind of know when, like, okay, we're both going to tear each other's heads off. So you're just going to sit there, I'm going to sit here.
Here's your house for the next 3 days.
But yeah, I do think though it's a massive thing. Like, emotionally, it's definitely different. Like, being with a woman, it's There
is some way of knowing more. about the way they are.
Yeah. I mean, and I understand when men turn around and say that women are very hard to deal with as well. Like, I get that too.
Yeah. I often think that if I had a boyfriend, at least I could fight him if he did bed in, because you can't fight your missus. It's not allowed.
It's not acceptable.
But if you had a boyfriend, I'm sure you can have a total service offer. You didn't put the dishes away. Bang! No, I don't know if that's actually allowed anyway. At least it makes me feel like that could be a thing.
Made me feel a bit better if I did it. So.
I just want to stop you again for a split second. Now, you've probably heard me talk about Line Mind X quite a lot. If you are somebody that often goes through life procrastinating and not really understanding what to do next, you have these big goals, big visions, but then you all of a sudden lose your energy and not know where to turn next. Line Mind X is here to help you plan the shit out of your next 90 days. And that is as simple as it is. We work on your next 90 days, nothing else. And that's why it is so potent and powerful. We make sure that whatever you commit to in that 90 days happens, and we really drive everything forward. We count back from the 90 days. We work out your months, weeks, your days, and even down to the things you do in the day to make sure that you are doing what you said you were going to do, and you are electrifying everything that happens throughout that period, and you're crushing your goals. So if you want to learn more about Line Mind X, jump on the freebie that's in the link below, and you will be able to learn a little bit of understanding of exactly what we're about, and then you can take it to the next step if you want to. Speak to you soon. So when did you come out?
About... Oh God, how many years ago was it now?
Well, how old are you, if that's an easy way of looking at it?
Just before lockdown. Yeah.
So obviously, I've never asked this direct like this, but we had a bit of talk off air that we softened the moment. But no, honestly speaking, right? Because I want to ask this, but I also know a lot of people will benefit from this question, right? But did you know you was a lesbian years ago?
So like years ago, I wouldn't say I knew I was a lesbian. I knew something was different. It's like I'm confused. But then being a teenager, everyone's getting boyfriends.
Yeah, so you just joining the...
Yeah, so I was like, okay, I'll get a boyfriend. But then I got pregnant, so...
So you definitely had a boyfriend.
So I definitely had a boyfriend. But yes, then I got pregnant, and then I think after that, the way I kind of thought about it was like, even when I was younger, it just wasn't spoke about very much.
Yeah.
This day and age, it's spoke about so openly. So back then it was kind of very much like society norm was a mum, a dad, and the children, and a dog, a house, and a white picket fence.
Yeah.
It was... So I think that's what I just had in my head. It was like, well, I have children now, so I've got to be with a man. Because I didn't really know any difference.
So did you feel that you felt pressured at that point, or you just didn't even realise that you were just doing it, yeah?
I think it was I think it's a bit of both. Like, I was just doing what I thought had to be done. But at the same time, it's kind of that pressure, like, more so from society, it's got to be seen as normal. Because then that's what you're taught is normal. Yeah, you don't want to break that norm. Yeah, like, not like nowadays kids in school, they do get taught about families that have two mums, families that have two dads. Yeah. And which I do think is really, really good, like they should, but back then we didn't have that. Yeah. So, yeah, I just thought... Do you think, though, now as well, and without this turning into a complete debate, but I just find this stuff really interesting, do you think now, though, people have gone a bit too far and people are too pushy, too open, too proud? Do you know what I'm trying to say? And that's what... And I will say, I don't mean that in a harsh way by saying too proud, right? Because we're all proud of who we are, what we do, blah, blah, blah. But do you feel now that it can become too much of a statement that I am... Yeah, so I'm all for, like, LGBT community. That's as far as I'm going to go with it, because anything after that, it's ridiculous. I'll be honest with you, I don't even know what that stands for. I know, I do roughly know, but then anything after that, it turns into the alphabet. It's ridiculous, yeah. It's alphabet mafia. And I probably have very unpopular opinions on this, but the way I see it is, like, years ago when you know the LGBT community was formed, things like
Remind
that.
me what, lesbian, gay.
Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender.
Right.
When it was kind of like founded as a community thing, people fought for that. They fought just for us to be seen
and heard
and
felt comfortable.
accepted.
Yeah.
But now there's people that take that and it's kind of like,
nothing else matters.
you know, you're triggering me because I'm a fucking non-binary flying parrot. Like it frustrates the life out of me because I feel like people take the piss. Like, we get it, you're gay, be happy, but, or you know, just be who you are. If you're trans, I'm always saying, like, I'm all for people being who they are. Like, one thing I teach my kids is be who you are. But when people use it to cause drama and to cause, you know, like, whether there's a bit of you know, two people are bickering and someone go, well, it's because I'm this, that's why you're doing it. And it's like, no, just...
They become the victim then, right?
Yeah.
Rather than...
So there's so many, I think there's so many people that are part of the community that have such a victim mentality. Like, for starters, you weren't even the ones that fought for the rights that gay people and trans people and whatever have today. You weren't even the ones that fought for that. Like, that wasn't you. Millennials are horrendous. Like,
yeah. And that's what I think I mean by that question of, do you think it's gone too far? Because I feel like you're newer age people. I'm being very probably harsh to some people here, right? But it's my viewpoints. But the new age people within that type of community, I think, are just making it a little bit harder for them because do you know what I'm trying to say? They're just too erratic with it, too in people's faces.
Yeah, like.
And that's not everyone, and I don't mean that to sound harsh on the rest of the people.
Like, I'm proud to be who I am. You know, I've been to like Pride events. I love it. I love like the.
I was at Pride the other month.
Yeah.
Winter Pride. Didn't know I was there.
Oh.
Genuine, true story. So me and my missus went there. No, we had Leo. I was trying to think if we had, the real nice restaurant. I get a lot of blokes look at me, just generally, you know, if I'm like half naked, just because you typically have got a bigger physique or whatever, and then, you know, a lot of blokes look at you and say, I was like, there's a lot of people looking at me. Yeah, there isn't there? Yeah, there's a lot of blokes looking at me. There's quite a lot of blokes looking at me. And I'm looking around going, I feel like there's a lot of blokes here. Anyway, going back and forward, this, that, and the other. And people are talking about gay pride. I was like, what's all this? Anyway, we then spoke to someone. And he was like, yeah, why are you not here for that? He was like, why the fuck are you here then? I was like, here for what? And then I then discovered it was a winter thing. I didn't realise. and just round the corner, there's this underground, it was in Gran Canaria, right? Then there's this underground thing that was a whole new world, and I had to go and have a look. So we went down, had food down there just to go and see. But yeah, oh my God, I've never seen anything like it. Like it's impressive. But Jesus Christ, do they go to some extent?
Oh yeah, all out. And do you know what I mean? Like, I do love Pride. Like, it is great. But at the same time, I will put it out there. I'm embarrassed to be part of the LGBT community.
Yeah, and I can understand why you're saying that.
We're going to go viral today.
It's... I've got unpopular opinions, but I'm not. I'll speak.
The thing is, do you know what I'll say here though? That's like me saying, you could look at this quite different, but I'm trying to look at this as a right way of saying it. That's like me saying I'm ashamed of some English people. Yeah. Some English men. Yeah. So we go abroad and English men are known to start fights. They start to, do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
There's trends, and you're letting us down.
Yeah.
Because then everyone thinks we're all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, is that what you're trying to say? Like, because I can understand that.
Yeah, basically, that's
yeah.
it. Because it is. I think it is just it's kind of gone too far with you know, people can't say this and they can't do that, and you can't, because someone might get offended somewhere. Like, I feel like we're in a era as such where everything that comes out your mouth has got to be scripted before you say it, just in case.
In case
you
it offends
offend
somebody.
someone.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And I won't,
Yeah.
I will not abide by that. Like, if someone's offended by what I say, that's
Knock, knock.
not a me problem. That's a you problem. Like, it is. But yeah, it's just, I think it's just been took too far.
Yeah. But the way I look at that, for us to stay sane and stay on the side we want to be, is we've just got to keep doing what we do, right? Because we can't control how everything is going and what other people are doing to themselves, their lives, or their communities, or anything else.
That's it. Like, I mind my business, you mind yours, and you know, I'm not really interested.
Be gay and proud, as they say.
Yeah, just be yourself.
Yeah,
That's it.
It doesn't need to be anything more than So, obviously, like, you going through your 17 as a daughter, 20 was your son, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And then what? So tell us what happened after that, then, because obviously quite a lot happened after your son, wasn't it?
Yes. So, whilst I was pregnant with my son, was 100% when the eating disorder started. Petrified of gaining weight, limited what I ate. Like, it would be, I thought a salad was substantial. Like, completely forgetting the fact I was carrying a whole life form. Make sure I walked everywhere, like I would power walk everywhere. And I even with, at 19 weeks pregnant, I was diagnosed with pelvic separation. So I had to have this huge belt thing around my hips because it felt like my hips were just going to fall apart.
Yeah.
But even with that, still, I would walk everywhere.
Where did that come from, out of interest? 'Cause obviously, do you know what I'm trying to say? Where did that come from? Was it all of a sudden you just thought, I need to be more active, I need to do more? What was it?
So when I was pregnant with my daughter, I was 16, obviously going into 17. I didn't really have life experience. I didn't really know about diets and healthy food. Like, it was never a thing that I'd had to think of. So I ate everything. I remember I lived at home at the time as well. Like, I remember coming downstairs in the middle of the night and eating a whole cheesecake. Like, that was...
Was that your pregnancy crave that people say, or...?
Oh no, I just craved food.
Everything.
So yeah, I craved everything. So with my daughter, I was huge, like massive, humongous.
As in, put a lot of body fat on as well as...
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She wasn't even a big baby. She was only 7'10", so she wasn't. She was quite average. I was just massive, but then at the same time, I had preeclampsia with her as well.
What's that again?
So preeclampsia is to do with blood pressure.
Yeah.
So it's like very, very high blood pressure.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
So basically, if your blood pressure gets too high, it can cause your placenta to rupture.
Yeah.
And basically just tears it away from your womb.
Yeah,
kill you both, essentially.
Yeah.
So with my daughter, it got to the point where I was that poorly. I think I was induced 2 weeks before my due date. I was in labour for 3 days with her. It was absolutely horrific. And at 17, I was like, it was scary. I mean, it's scary anyway, but I was like, Mum.
Yeah.
And then with Casey, it was traumatic anyway from the start. So Casey should have been twins.
Oh really?
Yeah. So she was. It was non-identical. So I actually miscarried one at 9 weeks. And they told me Casey didn't exist. They were like, couldn't find a heartbeat anywhere. They were ready to send me home. And someone else said, let me do one more. And they managed to find it. It was just the little tiniest flicker on the screen. Wow. So I've always said, like, she was my little miracle, that one.
Wow.
But it was just problems from the start. Like, I had so many problems. So did you technically have a miscarriage then with the secondary, with the twin? Is that yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd miscarried one. But then the pregnancy continued with my other.
Because that's actually more common than you think, though, isn't it? Like, because obviously, however the body does this magic thing, but it just puts all the pressure into one, doesn't it? And
so when they're non-identical as well, obviously, they're in two completely different sacs.
Yeah.
So they're not in the same one. So you can lose one.
Yeah. And it's, it makes complete sense.
Yeah, so that's what had happened, but they ultimately thought I'd lost both. And it was only because a third doctor came in to do another scan, and they was like, look, we don't think it's going to be good news, but we'll have one more check. And all it was literally the tiniest little just flicker on a screen.
Wow.
And that was it. But then after that, I was monitored constantly.
That could have been a different day, couldn't it, if they had not done that last scan?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it'd have been weird when I see my stomach growing.
That's what I mean. As in, like,
yeah.
You'd have gone through such a
Yeah.
traumatic thing for actually.
That's
that
it.
Wasn't real. Yeah.
And then, yeah. So with her, I was so poorly. And then when I was in labour, that was 3 days. 3 days of labour. I had to have an epidural put in. Then the anaesthetist had to come back in because they thought they'd put it in the wrong way, because I was going numb on my chest. And then to calm me down, they went, but don't worry, if we put it in the wrong way, your lungs would have collapsed. I was like, this is fantastic.
Yeah. So now are they going to collapse?
It was awful. I had a nurse come in and tell me that I had to keep my noise down because I was scaring the other ladies on the ward. I was like, I'm 17 and in labour, and I've been in labour for 3 days.
Yeah.
And then she was born. God, it was like nearly an hour of trying to push her out. She had a massive head. But then I remember my mum said it was scary, because I remember her being born, her being put on my chest, and then I don't remember anything until I woke up in a bay.
Oh, really?
So as they put her on my chest, my mum said they saw you, like she said, I saw you smile, and then she went, your eyes just rolled to the back of your head and you were gone. And blood was just everywhere. So what had happened was, as I was giving birth, obviously the reason they got her out was because of the preeclampsia, because of my blood pressure. But as I was giving birth, then the placenta ruptured.
Right.
So she was born, the placenta ruptured, and I started hemorrhaging.
Right. Which is it's better that way around, right? Rather than
still better that way round, yeah, because at least she was out.
Yeah, but then you're in a
yeah.
position.
So then I was in hospital for a good probably week and a half after having her. And with Casey, I always found it very, very hard to like kind of bond with her afterwards, because it was, I think, because it was just so traumatic from the start.
You do hear that a lot though, don't you?
Yeah.
When it's not that.
People have these textball picture births.
I was just about to say, when it's not the real like system that everyone thinks happens.
Yeah. So yeah, it was hard. And then obviously after having Casey, then like I lost all the weight. Started not, I still didn't really understand like the gym or training or anything like that then. Like I didn't get any of that. But I'd do things at home or just make sure I was walking a lot and stuff like that. And eventually I lost all the weight. I went through one of my many hobbies. So I was doing pole dancing. Lost loads of weight, got really good, like in shape and everything. Met my son's dad, and I remember we had a conversation where he said he wanted kids. I said I didn't want any more kids, and unbeknownst to me, I was actually pregnant.
Wow.
So we were only together 6 weeks when I fell pregnant with my son.
Really?
Yeah. I think that's why the relationship hung on as long as it did, because I'd had a baby. But then with Leighton, it was a case of I was petrified of gaining weight again. I was petrified. So then whilst I was pregnant, I'd kind of restrict what I was eating. Made sure I was always active. Like I was just constantly up and down, and I couldn't sit still. I couldn't.
Was that like some subconscious obsession? Do you know what I mean? To think that I just need to. It
100% became an obsession. I'd sit there and all of a sudden I'd be like, I've been sat down for too long. I'd feel guilt. I'd feel guilty for not being up and moving. Like I need to get up, I need to move, I need to do something. Then finally, by the time I was born, they left me to go 10 days over my due date because they were so concerned how small it was going to be. And another traumatic birth. So I was classed as high risk after Casey.
Yeah, of course.
Wasn't allowed to have just, a nice natural birth. It had to be monitored and everything. Like they had to put the wire inside and hook it into his head and everything to monitor his heart rate.
I've actually heard that before.
And then it got to the point where I'd been stuck at 9 centimetres for about 5 hours and they put me on a drip, and they were basically getting ready for emergency C-section because he wasn't doing very well, and my blood pressure was going through the roof. And me being me, stubborn as anything, I was like, absolutely not, he's not coming out the sunroof. I was like, this kid is, I will give birth to this child. And I basically did most of the birth when no one was in the room. And then it was only the last little bit where midwife came in because I didn't want nobody there. Didn't tell anyone, just kind of did my own thing and pretty much birthed my child. But again, I was in hospital for a few days afterwards with him. And then this is kind of where it really kicked in. So I decided with Leighton I wanted to breastfeed. With Casey, because of how poorly I was, it wasn't really an option.
Yeah. Do you think that's partly why the connection wasn't as strong as well? Because, again, you hear that, don't you? Like...
that, stopping breastfeeding is the hardest thing ever. Like, it's so hard to make that decision. And you can see why some mums do actually breastfeed for quite a while. And it is because it's not... I think with a lot of people, it's very much a sexualised thing. Because it's a boob. But at the end of the day, we're mammals.
No,
that's
you're
what it's
feeding
there for.
your baby, aren't you? It's
And so with my little boy, within 15 minutes of him being born, I mean, he was nearly £9. He was huge. So obviously he wanted food. He took to it like a duck to water. It was absolutely, brilliant. And I did that till he was 1. Because my goal was stop breastfeeding when he's 1, go into full-time work or go part-time, whatever. And the one of the reasons, this is where it's quite selfish. One of the reasons I breastfed is because it helps women lose weight after having a baby.
Yes, I've heard that.
Because you actually burn a lot of calories when you breastfeed.
Yeah.
It helps your womb contract and go down in size, everything. So like part of the reason why is because I thought, well, I'll lose weight. So yes, I am feeding Leighton, but at the same time I'm losing weight. Like that's what I want. And I powered through. Like, it got to some points where he was awake every hour. Like, I was exhausted. But I didn't stop. Like, I just kept doing it. And then by the time Leighton was 8 weeks old, I was a size 6 to 8.
Oh.
So I was tiny. I was tinier than before I had him. Like, before I actually got pregnant with him.
As that was happening, was you feeling good for yourself because you were seeing that?
Yeah. I was like, this is amazing. Like, I look insane. I look amazing. I look great. At this point, my daughter had started nursery. So I was up in the morning. I would get Leighton ready, get Casey ready, walk. Obviously, again, like I say, it was all up, very much uphill. It was like 15 minutes, but it was all uphill. And I would walk with the pushchair. Always had the pushchair. Up, drop Casey off, come back down, back up again to pick her up at lunchtime because it was when they was doing like the half days when they're little.
Yeah.
And that's what I'd do, and then. Food-wise, I was very much limiting what I was eating. Started keeping a food diary. So I would write down what I'd eat. I actually found it about a year ago.
What was a typical meal for you, like, if you're looking at...
Breakfast was a coffee and a fag. Like, because obviously coffee and fag suppress my appetite.
Yeah.
There was a thought process behind everything. So coffee and fags suppressed my appetite, so I'd drink coffee. I lived on coffee, like easily 10, 12 cups a day.
Wow.
So coffee and a fag, then some days I'd be like, okay, well, I'll have a slice of toast. No butter though, it was dry toast.
And what was your method behind no butter?
I just thought it was extra calories, didn't need it.
Yeah.
A dry piece of toast was substantial enough, that's in my head.
Yeah.
And then if I felt hungry after that, glass of water. Drink a pint of water.
Curb your craving, yeah.
Fill your tummy up a bit. Some of the pages, it was like, for my lunch I'd eat half an apple, or it was just crazy. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I'd be like, I need to exercise. So I went through this thing of I'd run up and down the stairs. Like, I would literally repeatedly run up and down the stairs, probably do that like 20 times.
Mm.
Just out of nowhere. Could be in between cooking the kids dinner or something like that.
Yeah.
I'd be sat on the sofa, I'd be like, I'll do some sit-ups. So I'd lay on the floor, do 100 sit-ups. Like, it was just very random. It was whenever I felt that guilt, I was like, I need to get up and do something.
Like it's controlling you and it's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
It literally is a battle with your own brain. So I had really bad body dysmorphia, really, really bad. And I look at pictures and I could quite honestly stand there when I took that photo and I looked in the mirror and I was like, I am fucking huge. I am fat. Like, this is gross.
And what size were you at that point?
A size 4.
Wow.
So my lowest weight, I was just under 6 stone.
You see, so for me to understand that, I genuinely can only hear you and know that what you're saying is true. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people will feel the same there. Like, I mean, obviously, there's different circumstances, situations that you can say are similar.
Mm-hmm.
But to be a size 4 and weigh 6 stone and think you look fat,
It's crazy.
that is beyond possible to think it's true. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And I think that's really, obviously you know that now, don't you? And that's what's so powerful. But why didn't you know that then? Do you know what I'm trying to say? How can you answer that? Like,
it's mad. And like so for me, like, I sit and I think about it, like when I was at my lowest, when I finally, so basically I finally got put through for an outpatient clinic. And I used to have to go 3 times a week, twice a week to see therapists.
is this when you was diagnosed with?
Yeah.
What exactly were you diagnosed
Anorexia.
with? So it was anorexia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I used to go twice a week to see therapists and once a week to see a dietetic. And it's crazy the effect it actually has on your mental health. Like, I can't remember the percentage now, but it's such a big percentage where it's one of the worst mental health, like, because it kills people. It literally kills people.
I get it. Yeah, I get it.
And I can remember being sat there. I was in the outpatient clinic for 7 months, and I can remember the therapist literally turned around to me, and it's one of them, you know, when it kind of gets burned into your brain. And she literally sat there to me and she went, "You are going to die." And I sat there and went, so.
Can you remember that day now?
Yeah.
Like you was
clear as anything.
And when she said that, how did you feel? Like, what was your thoughts?
I did not give a fuck. Didn't care. I just wanted to shut up. I only used to go there because everyone wanted me to go, because everyone wanted me to get better. And I'm a strong believer in, you can't force someone to get better.
No,
Sometimes you've got to leave them, let them get worse for them to get better. And that's what the clinic did. They turned around, they went, "We cannot physically help you. We can't help you. Like, you don't want to be here." And I was like, I know I don't want to be here. So anything they said didn't make a difference. So I got discharged, and then I got really, really poorly. That's when I went down to the size, like 4, just under 6 stone. I had to have all my hair cut off. I was losing all my hair.
Oh, really? What?
Yeah, my hair. I had to have my hair. It was cut, like, probably like quite up here. It was thin. Like, naturally, I've got very thick hair. But it was.
But it's a reproduction of your body, isn't it? Like,
that's it. Like,
if you're
so
not eating, you're not...
the way they described it to me is each blood cell in your body has got. She said picture it as like them. Do those things what you drop from trees, like the helicopter things?
Yeah.
She said picture those as these little propellers inside your cells. You've got a cell. You've got, say, 6 of those propellers in it. When you start limiting what your body's getting, i.e. food, exercise, fluids, that kind of stuff, she went, your body has got to compensate. It's got to do something somewhere, so it will shut down half of those little propellers. So your body can still function, just not at the capacity it needs to. It's got to slow it down.
Yeah.
And that's what my body was doing. It was starting to shut things down because it was like, right, well, we don't need this, but we need to keep this going, and we've got to keep that going. And it got to the point where getting out of bed was hard. Like, I was collapsing all the time. It's sad when I think about it now, because like Leighton would have only been 2, 3. Like, it's shit when you even then, like, I was struggling to even play with my own child. Like, I couldn't. Picking him up was hard. There was literally nothing on me. And then it's just mad at the same time. Like I say, you still sit there and think, I am fucking huge. I'm disgusting. I'm gross. Like, I can remember I'd sit there and I'd pull up my skin. It became an obsession with what you could see. Social media, massive no-no. So I got really hooked in Instagram. And it was before Instagram really had a lot of the like warning kind of filters and things like that on it before. So they didn't really have that then. So I found like lots of anonymous pages that were like people that had eating disorders. And actually, I've not spoke about this one yet. So there was pages where you could speak to other people that had eating disorders and stuff like that, or they put on tips and tricks and how-tos. Like, it's literally a how to have an eating disorder.
How to have one.
Literally.
So if you have one, how to...
Like, tips on how to...
Continue that journey.
How to... Right, if you're feeling hungry, you need to do this instead of this.
I thought, first of all, you meant if you've got one, how to get out of it sort of thing.
No.
Wow.
Like, I became so hooked. So, and then it was image, what you can see. So, at one point, I could get my hand like that around my thigh. I would sit and do this every day. I would put my hand around my thigh every single day to confirm that I could do that. My wrists, again, I would make sure I could get my little finger and my thumb together. I've got no chance of that now.
Wow.
So, like, I'd do that. Collarbones. A person is, for me, it was like a person's fat unless you could see the collarbones. So my collarbones, they stuck out. They were really, really, like, prominent.
Would you say this is a form of self-harm?
Yeah. It's the one thing that the therapist said to me that kind of stuck with me. She went, it's almost like it is self-harm, and it's very much control.
Yeah.
So she said the way they kind of try to explain it is when people struggle to control a lot of what's going on in their life, which is why it tends to be people that have gone through trauma, all that kind of stuff. When you're struggling to control other aspects of your life, something like this is well within your control.
Yeah, I was literally thinking the same thing.
Like, it is within your control until it gets to a point where it's no longer in your control and you're out of control with it.
So do you feel like your upbringing, your life, especially, and it's not to target these people or say this is the exact thing, but, you know, not having control of many things that have happened in your life could really have resulted into this, right?
Yeah. I do very much strongly believe it is to do with control, because that was one area of my life. Nobody else could control it. That was mine. I controlled that. But then it's kind of a bit of a contradiction. You think you're controlling it, but then once it really sets in and the mental health side of it, it takes control of you. Like, you are, but at the same time you still believe. And that's why I think that's the delusion when people have eating disorders. And that's why everyone does sit there and go, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. My mum hated that. She was constantly like, I'm sick to death of hearing you say you're fine. She was like, you are not fine. So then I kick off. I'd be like, you're just saying this because of this. Leave me alone. Shut up.
Yeah, I guess you're in denial, aren't you? Because
massively.
You're doing what you want to do, so I don't want you to tell me no different is what you're saying.
Yeah, like people thought I wore baggy clothes to cover up the fact that I was so tiny. I lived in baggy clothes because I thought I was fat.
To hide what you thought was fat.
Yeah, right. I thought if people see what my body looks like, they're gonna be disgusted by it. When in reality, people thought I was wearing baggy clothes. People knew that I was wearing baggy clothes, and they knew I was a bag of bones underneath it. But
that's not what you've seen.
No, to me. So I had my hip bones literally stuck right out. I had a concave stomach. So my stomach dipped right the way in, and my hip bones stuck out. Like, you could literally hold them like handles. And because then it's really weird since then, and my ribs stuck out. So since then, no matter how much weight I put on, my hip bones still always stick out now, and my bottom 2 ribs stick out. So it has left like permanent effects on my body.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy just how much it just takes over your head. And then, like I say, I got down to my lowest. And going back, before I was actually diagnosed, my son turned 1, I stopped breastfeeding. So a lot of people use the breastfeeding method as contraception. Because it stops a woman having a period while she's breastfeeding. Yeah. So when Leighton actually turned 1, I went to full-time work. I was like, I did it. I started work a week before he turned 1, stopped breastfeeding, like everything was going to plan. I actually found out I was pregnant. So I was actually, for the 3rd time I was pregnant. But obviously at this point I was tiny. And doctors basically said that trying to go through with this pregnancy will result in you will not make it full term, because I was already in that hooks of the eating disorder now. So there was like, you can't even feed yourself enough. So they said if I went through with it, it would result in the baby dying or both, basically.
Yeah. There's clearly not enough nutrition, is there?
There was nothing. Absolutely nothing. So I had to make the choice then. I made the choice to have an abortion, have a termination. I was put to sleep. I wouldn't do it awake. I didn't want to do it awake. Found out there was an option where you can be put to sleep, but they left me. I found out I was only 3 weeks pregnant when I found out. They left me till I was 10 weeks. And I was suffering with hyperemesis gravidarum, which is basically extreme sickness. So the weight I actually lost from when I found out I was pregnant to when I actually went in for the operation was insane.
Already it being that small anyway.
Yeah. And then I struggled. So even when they were bringing around for my anaesthetic, I struggled. Like trying to come around for my anaesthetic. It was just, I was poorly. I was so poorly. Still to this day, I always say I made the right choice. Because I had to kind of think of it this way. I was like, I can either try and have this baby and essentially die, or I can go home and make sure my 2 children have a mum. Yeah. Like, there's already 2 children at home that want me and need me. So obviously I made the choice. Still to this day, I don't regret it. I know it's like a taboo subject when people talk about things like this, but I said until you're in, I always believed, I was like, no, it's wrong, it's awful, it's wrong, I don't like it. But then I think until you're actually in that situation. Everyone's circumstances are different. I was not even in a stable enough relationship to have another child. And mentally, I think it would have sent me over the edge. Yeah. But yeah, so then obviously, fast forwarding, with Leighton, as he got older and as time went on, I just lost more and more weight. And to the point where I honestly don't think, if you see pictures of me, I look skeletal. Like, my face is so gaunt and my eyes look really sunken and dark. Like, it was just awful. It was awful to see. Even I look at it now and I'm like, it doesn't look like me. Like, it genuinely doesn't. And then one day, Casey would have been about 5 at the time, and I was getting changed in my bedroom. Like, if I bent over, you could see all my ribs, my spine, everything, every bone in my body, you could see it. And Casey came in one day, and this is one bit that always gets me emotional. She was breathing in, really like breathing in. And obviously, when the kids are like 4 or 5, they always have them like kind of gangly legs, don't they? Like little pot belly sort of shape. And she was breathing right in, and like little ribs were sticking out and everything. And I looked at her and says, "What are you doing?" She went, "I look like you, mummy." That was like, fuck. And then I think it kind of kicks in. You're like, I'm raising a little girl. Like, I'm raising this little person. She's looking at me like she sees me. And I think that's when that's what really kicked in, when I thought, You know, when people think kids don't really pay attention, kids don't take notice. She
it's
did.
Crazy. Yeah,
she saw.
They do.
And what she saw was what she thought was normal. How I looked was not normal. It wasn't okay. I was ill. And that was it. I was like, I've got to change. And literally just like that. It kind of flicked a switch in my head. It was hard. Very, very hard. But yeah, I 100%. But then it kind of took another turn. So then I went from anorexia, so not eating, to then binge eating. So because I used to collapse a lot when
ADHD personality disorder.
Yeah. So then because I used to collapse a lot when I was really, really tiny, I had this paranoia that I was going to pass out all the time. So even when I was back to a nice healthy weight, I'd get this weird feeling. So it kind of left me with all these anxieties and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, shit, I'm going to pass out. So I thought I need sugar.
Yeah.
So then it became a habit. Every day I was going through the big bottles of Lucozade, like not even sugar-free ones, like the big bottles of pink. It was always pink lemonade. And I can guarantee I smashed a full pack of Bourbons every day. But the minute I felt that, the slightest thing, I was like, I need sugar.
Yeah.
So then I'd eat something.
But it's the extremes, isn't it? From being extreme that way, you're now...
Like, even when I was really, really tiny, I can remember once I wanted a burger and chips because people went, oh, do you just not eat? I was like, no, you do eat. You just limit what you eat. I can remember once I wanted a burger and chips, and I can remember this burger and chips being on my plate from the takeaway. God, I had it sat there for about 2 hours. And it was like, eat it, don't eat it, eat it, don't eat it. And it was like that over and over and over again to the point where I literally picked my plate up and I threw it across my kitchen and smashed it everywhere through that sheer frustration of not being able to try and eat it. But then obviously, like I say, the opposite way, it wasn't necessarily the fact that I was just eating for the sakes of it. It was the fact that I genuinely thought I was going to pass out, so I needed sugar. Yeah. So then it kind of became this...
game. Your brain was playing on you.
Yeah. It was like, no, you need it. You need it. And I was like, shit, I need it. So then I'd eat it. So then I went from just under 6 stone to 14.
Wow.
So I was a size 14 to 16. And I weighed 14 stone in 2 years. Like, complete opposite ends of the scale.
Well, you got pictures of both of those?
Yeah.
Would you mind sharing them?
Yeah, you can see them.
No. As in, like,
no, I can. I've got them all. Yeah.
If you don't mind, that would be.
Yeah, you can have all of them. I look like none of those people. One looks like some sort of shadow of myself. One looks like it ate myself. Like, it's crazy. And then I got miserable. Then I was like, I'm miserable now. Like, this is awful. And it got to the point where I'd wear leggings. I'd live in leggings because leggings were comfy and they were stretchy. And I feel like if you wear leggings, you don't really have to acknowledge what size you really are, because it's just stretchy clothing. It's not, like a squeeze into a size 10 pair of jeans. It's
you can wear what size you want as opposed to have to wear the size.
Leggings are just leggings and a baggy top. That's literally all I lived in after that. And then my son's dad, at the time, he was doing Tough Mudders. So he'd completed about 6 Tough Mudders, and then he did Europe's Toughest Mudder. And I was like, I want to do a Tough Mudder. And this is like in the January, start of the year. It's like, I want to do a Tough Mudder. I'm going to do it. So that kind of gave me that goal. I was like, right, I have a goal now. The Tough Mudder was in the August. So I was like, plenty of time. So then the obsession kicks in again. I need to run, because obviously Tough Mudder, it was 12 miles.
Yeah.
I weren't doing a half one, I was doing the full one. Can't do a half, I have to do a full one. So I was like, I need to start running. So I started running. I didn't go to the gym, but I got obsessed with, can you remember, oh God, her name was Josie something. That celebrity, she had the most god-awful accent ever. Josie Gibson.
No.
Oh my God.
What was she off? Celebrity from?
I'm pretty sure she was on like Big Brother or something.
Fake celebrity.
Yeah. And she did this hit workout DVD.
Yeah.
I could honestly I actually started getting to the point where I had to mute it because her voice was awful. But that was what I did. Every night I did this hit workout.
Yeah.
And then I'd run. And it was body weights I'd do. It was just a bit of body weights, even down to big bottles of water. 2 of those.
Yeah.
I thought you make use of what you got. I wasn't comfortable to be in a gym, so kind of made use of what I got at home. But this time, I was getting into good shape. I was eating better because in my head I was like, to get better and to look better and to feel better, I have to eat better. I've got to eat to fuel my body.
Yeah, but then you're working
and then
hard
I've got
as well.
to eat to recover.
Yeah.
And so it kind of, in my head, I was like, this is healthy. I'm really healthy here. And then gets to the August, run Tough Mudder, did it, smashed it. And I was like, I did so good. I was like, I'm so fucking proud of myself. Like, and I felt healthy. So then I was like, do you know what? I'm going to join a gym. And that's where weight training kind of started picking up then. I was like, I actually prefer weight training. Because at the time I turned into a real cardio bunny. But like, it was the point where I was like, you know, when you've got no bum, like, there was no bum. Like nothing. It was just so cardio.
But you just constantly...
So it was weight training. I was like, I really fucking like this. Like, and I loved it. I loved it. Like sometimes I'd go to the gym in the morning and I'd do like cardio in the morning, go to work, then afterwards I'd go straight to the gym again. I'd go and do weights. Like weights just became... It's crazy when people who don't train hear people say like weight training, it's how it makes you feel. Like they don't get it. Like
No,
if they don't do it,
yeah.
they don't get it. Like you feel strong, you feel... I don't know, it's just... I don't know how to explain it.
I think as well, it depends on your journey of how you got there for how they feel. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I will say, I once felt like that, but for me now, lifting weights is my job in a way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, and because obviously, you know, in strongman sort of stuff, you can't just do it for the therapy side. It's about you actually putting yourself through a lot of pain.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm trying to say? But what you're saying there, you tend to find that with people that have been through a lot of trauma and that have found that that's their therapy.
Yeah.
So that's probably is that how you felt at the time?
Yeah, it was. It was like, it genuinely was so therapeutic. And people would look at me like, how do you find that therapeutic? And I was like, because I'm strong as fuck. It's like, it's just that.
Yeah,
and then you start to see
Changes.
your body changing. You start to see... The one thing I've always loved is the fact that, to be fair, I do build muscle very quick and very easily. And I drop fat very quickly as well. So I've always kind of had that luxury, but then at the same time I look at a chocolate bar and gain half a stone. But it just, but yeah, so like I could see my body changing so quick, and then I just kind of carried on, and didn't have any thoughts on competing, nothing. Like I just really enjoyed what I was doing. Then another bad breakup, which was my son's dad. I lost a lot of weight again. So that's my go-to. I think every time I'm in a stressful situation, some people stress eat. For me, I physically cannot eat. If I am slightly stressed, slightly anxious, anything like that, no food can pass my lip because I genuinely will throw it up. Like it just, I can't keep it down. So no matter what, the minute I'm stressed, I just don't eat. So then I lose all the weight again. And then started training in the very first lockdown, like continued doing bits and bobs at home once I got over the initial fact that I spent a lot of my time drinking gin, because I think that's what we all did in the summer. And buying random things off Amazon.
Yes.
Oh,
Stuff
God.
that you still got and you don't need.
Honestly, I bought a giant inflatable pink flamingo and laid on it in my garden drinking gin. I don't know why. I
think it was on a beach.
didn't even have a pool. So then I started training again, and I was like, right, do you know what? I want to get serious now. Like, so this is 2020. And I was like, I want to get serious, and I'm going to do it. And I got a coach. So I was with Sophie Brewster.
Don't know the name, but yeah.
Yeah. It's her and her husband, Eddie Chip. They're both big bodybuilding. So was getting coached by Sophie. She's insane. Like, as a coach, absolutely incredible. Incredible. And obviously, bear in mind, I didn't actually meet her because she lives, I think, Scotland. So a lot of it was very much WhatsApp. You know, even if I needed it, it could be 2 o'clock in the morning, I could WhatsApp her and she'll still reply. Like, she was on it.
Yeah.
And the way she manipulated my body in such a short space of time was insane. Well, saying that, no, she gave me the plan. I put the work in, and I did put the work in. Like, I grafted my arse off. I was in the gym 5 days a week, at least 2 hours a day. Like, that's, I worked hard.
And then obviously the food side of it.
Then the food side of it
would have been the game changer for you, wouldn't it?
So, 5 to 6 meals a day, but small portions. So, because that's how it usually works, isn't it? It's not big portions, it's small portions. But in my head, I was like, okay, so to get the body I want, I need to eat this. To fuel my body, I've got to eat this. To recover my body, I've got to eat this. And that was my process. Food then became... I didn't eat for flavour or enjoyment. I ate for purpose. That was it. I didn't enjoy my food whatsoever. But I know I just needed to eat it to get to where I needed to be.
Which sounds like a sad period of your life.
Yeah.
But it's actually very much what's needed when you're trying to focus on a goal.
Yeah. So people were like, God, that's boring. That's shit. That's terrible. That's this. And I was like, yeah, but for where I want to be, I've got to do this.
Yeah, I agree.
But then at the same time, then you would kind of sit there and go, well, everyone's doing that, and I'm sat here with my Tupperware tub. And that's what it was. Tupperware was everywhere. I think that whole period of bodybuilding, I didn't use a single plate. Like, it was, everything was Tupperware. But yeah, like, I looked insane. But then my brain, I don't think your brain ever changes. So I was now this person who spent a long, long time criticising her body, going into a sport where my body was being criticised.
Yeah.
And some nights I wouldn't sleep. So I think this is the ADHD part though. So I'd be up in the middle of the night and I'd be in the mirror. I'd be posing in the mirror, seeing what I needed to work on, pulling at bits. I need to change this, and I've got to do that, and I've got to. And I feel like with bodybuilding, that is very much what it is. You are constantly, you've got to change this, you've got to change that. Okay, if you're going to go to this category, then we've got to work on that area, and we've got to. I don't think there's ever a point in bodybuilding where there's body satisfaction.
No, which is real sad to admit, isn't it, and say out loud.
Yeah, because people. I can be looking at these people first before I did bodybuilding, like, oh my God, they're insane, they look incredible, they look amazing. But then, do you know, when it's on the other way around, they probably felt a lot of what I felt, where it was like, right, okay, well, that doesn't look right. That's not good enough. This isn't good enough. I've got to change that. And it is so sad because there genuinely is no body satisfaction. You aren't, at what point, this body that you've worked for, do you then enjoy it?
Yeah, it's very
When
true.
do you enjoy your body? Because instead your body is just this thing in a sport. That's, and so, yeah, and I was just, I wasn't enjoying...
What is enjoying body? That's a vague question.
The thing is, when you think about what you're saying there, I've got a lot of very good mates who are bodybuilders, some very, very good bodybuilders as well. One thing I noticed with those guys that are really good at what they do and that are happy can still disconnect from what the judge says and what they say. And I think that's how you find happiness in your body, because otherwise... Josh Maley is a perfect example.
I watched that episode.
He is a phenomenal guy.
I met him.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Thing is, I've known Josh for years and years, and he's one of those people that I look at. I'm not going to call him the perfect bodybuilder, right? But he has that perfect attitude of he does it for himself. He doesn't do it for anyone else.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He sticks to what he wants to do. He doesn't need to perform for other people. Yes, you're performing on stage to get that judgment, but the point is, he can disconnect from. Do you know what I mean? Like
I only do this because I want to do this. Like,
yeah. And you know what? It's a fucking hard skill.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that from experience. I'm saying that from just judgment of seeing people. But it must be a very, very hard skill to do what you're saying there. Where, let's be honest, you've got a lot of history on this type of thing anyway.
Yeah.
You're then putting yourself in a position to be judged on that thing.
Essentially, I spent years telling myself I wasn't good enough and I didn't look good enough.
And then you're
put
now
myself
telling
in a position
someone else
where someone could say, you're not good enough.
Yeah.
Because essentially that is what they're saying. They're saying, you're like, I know bikini, it's like quads. Like, my quads were huge, but in bikini category, they're not interested in your quads.
No, of course not. They're
It's your hamstrings, your glutes, your
They don't like
shoulders.
that, do they? Yeah, yeah.
Because then the battle was whether I was going to go bikini or move up a class. Because of how fast I was growing, my body was, I had the X. I had that perfect X shape for figure.
Yeah, yeah, it is, isn't it?
Figures next.
That's where it goes
Yeah.
into bodybuilding, isn't it? Yeah.
So,
But then when you get there, you'll have lacking areas, won't you?
but this is it. So then, yeah, I could go up to figure, but then I could go up to figure and be the bottom of the class.
Yeah.
And it's just such a... It's just a battle. Like, it's such a battle. And
I think there, though, it depends how you're going to acknowledge the feedback. Because if you're going into that sport to shape yourself into that category and you leave it there, then that's fine, isn't it? But if you do that and it becomes your life, which is hard for it to not become your life when you're eating so rigid on the outside of training, then that's where it can become unhealthy, isn't it? So I think you just got to make sure you have that balance. How you do that, I get it. It's very hard.
yeah, see, like, don't get me wrong, it's because it's shit. Because obviously, I never made it to the stage.
Do you not think that's a good thing as well, though, for you?
Yes, 100%. So obviously, I was registered, everything ready to go. I was going in for PCA first timers. But like, for me, I think with the judge side of it and them saying, because they're never, they're not brutal. They don't stand there and go, "You're not good enough. You're shit." I know they do pinpoint on areas that need work, but for me, I could take that from my coach as well. Like, my coach would be like, "Right,
Yeah,
no,
of course.
you need to work on this, this, and this. I'm cutting this out of your diet. You're only like, oh, when you put me on bagel thins and not normal bagels, that was dreadful." But it was like, no, because that's why I need to do this. So the judge side of it wasn't something that ever kind of bothered me. I was never worried about what the judges were going to say, because that's where I kind of go, right, okay, but then when I go back again, I come back bigger and better. That's
And
it.
also, it gives you that purpose to focus on, doesn't
so
it?
I push harder.
Yeah.
My concern was, what I know a lot of female bodybuilders struggle with, is dropping all that body fat for the stage.
And then the after bit, the rebound.
And then the rebound after, because the thing is, you put that fluff back on very quick. Because you cannot physically maintain that size. Like, it's impossible and very unhealthy. And that was where my concern was sitting. My concern was coming off of the stage and seeing my body switch very quickly. Because, again, it was the body dysmorphia. So regardless what the judges said or anything like that, I wasn't really bothered about. It was that part that I was concerned about.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Because it was...
And with knowing your history for yourself, you're going to get very anxious about it, aren't you?
Yeah. So that's where I was concerned. It was that seeing my body change. Because obviously you're going to see it change getting down to that, but then it's seeing it change very quickly back.
Yeah.
And that's what I struggled with. It was that thought. But then, obviously I didn't make it anyway, because my body just wasn't interested in doing that. But it's all kind of went a bit tits up. I'd had my bloods done. So I regularly had bloods from being poorly, like really, really tiny. After that, I had to have bloods pretty much every 3 to 6 months. So I'd had my bloods done because I wasn't feeling great. And I was saying to my coach, I was like, I'm drained. I was on my vitamins. It's not that I wasn't eating. I was drinking plenty. I was like, I don't feel good. And basically my liver and my kidney were playing up. They weren't really having a good time. My iron was ridiculously low, and my B12 was dangerously high. So B12 is meant to sit, I don't think it's meant to go above, like, it can sit anywhere between, I think it's 250 to like 700, and mine was 1,300.
Wow.
So then I had to go through more tests, because obviously high B12, I think it's linked to leukemia.
I'm not 100% sure myself, yeah.
So obviously it starts affecting the nerves, because obviously people get B12 shots.
Yeah.
So like the ends of my fingers, I'd constantly have pins and needles at the ends of my fingers, because it's like nerve endings what high B12 can affect.
Yeah.
So I weren't right. So then it kind of came to the point where we looked at it, and then we was back in another lockdown as well. And my head was not doing good. Like, I was still training. I'd train outside in the rain if I had to. Like, it didn't stop me from doing that. But I kind of sat there and I was like, one, when my show is, the fact that the gyms are closed, I'm having to do very basic weight training. I was like, I'm not going to be able to push myself to the limit I need to. Like, it was, you know, doing like your progressive overload, things like that. I couldn't do any of that. And then it was a big expense as well for the fact that I was at home with very minimal, so paying for a coach to coach you when you've got,
especially when you're not still pursuing that same.
This was when I was still wanting to do the stage, but it was like I was still paying for a coach for training at home when I had nothing to really train with.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I put it all together, and then the fact that my body was just not playing ball, and I thought, if this is my body now, I start going into calorie deficits and things like that, prepping for a show.
Yeah.
I was like, my body, I could put some serious strain on it. Yeah. So I was like, it's not, my body's not built for competing. And that is an effect from anorexia. It's kind of left its little, its little marks on my body from being so poorly.
So obviously you've learned a fucking lot of stuff, right?
Yes.
Throughout your life. What would you say that you've learned that's going to stay with you, that is going to help you moving forward? Because before you answer that as well, there's a lot of things that are programmed things in your life, right? That you, I'm not going to say can't change, because that's false, but you are going to really struggle to completely change. Yeah, so you have to manage them rather than change them, right? That's life. Some things you can't completely eradicate or fix. You have to just manage it. But what's the things that you could say that you're going to now take forward to, and a really nice way to put it for us parents is to help your children as well, isn't it? So what's the things that that you are definitely learned and that you're going to take forward?
I think it's one thing that I've definitely learned is to accept me for where I am. Respect me.
Now.
Now. Because I can sit here and go, 6 months ago I looked like this. Because 6 months ago I look completely different again. I am one of those people. I'm like a chameleon, and like with the fact that I'm ever changing. Like I constantly look different. But so I could sit there and look into the past and go, well, I wish I looked like that still. Back then I looked like this. Or even when I was bigger, like I could sit and do that. Or I could look into the future and sit there going, well, I need to look like that and I want to look like that. And either way, if you're living in the past, it's depression. If you're living in the future, it's anxiety. You're going to feel something there. So it's learning now that just to be where I am.
Present.
The main thing is learning to respect my body. Because essentially it's been through a lot of shit. It's been through 2 very traumatic births and labours and pregnancies. It's been through eating disorders. It's been through abuse. It's been through addiction. It's a major car crash that should have killed me, like literally a few years ago, and it's still going. So I think it's...
Do you feel grateful?
Yeah.
I think that's something that quite often, we as human don't think, do we? Do you know what I'm saying? Someone actually said it to me yesterday, and it was love messages like this. But someone said to me, I hope you've stopped after the seminar and all the stuff that went off the other day, he was like, I hope you've stopped for a moment and realised where you are. And actually, when he said that, I then did it. Do you know what I mean? It's not.
Sometimes you don't, because you're just in like autopilot, aren't you? You just keep going and going and going. And it's like, I sat there the other day, and I was stood there, I was getting changed, and I kind of looked in the mirror, and I still very much get days, without a doubt, where I go, I don't like this, and I don't like this, and I don't like that, and I don't like that, and I need that to change. I do. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't and I'm fixed, because I'm not.
Of course.
But I saw myself doing that the other day. But then I kind of have to sit there and I think about it, and then I'm like, shit. Like, if anything, we should be grateful. Like, this is literally keeping me going. Like, it's not just a shell. It's not just, a casing for my brain and my heart. This is me. This has been through so many things, and it's still going. Like, my body probably should have died a lot, and it's still going.
Yeah. No, I agree. And as well, you're still in control of future changes, aren't you? Like,
that's it. Like,
you don't need to put that pressure on yourself, but you're able to make some changes if you want to.
I know. I think as well, because of the fact that I have been very, very small, I have been a lot bigger. I have been bodybuilding. I know exactly what my body is capable of. You have your days where you sit there and you go, no, I'm never going to get back in shape. And because I think that now. I look down, I've got a good couple of rolls. Like, it's winter, I'm keeping warm. But, and, like, you sit there and you think, you're never going to get there and you're never going to do this. And when you actually think about it, like, I know exactly what my body is capable of. I know that in 6 months' time, I will probably look different again. It's inevitable, I'll look different. I always do. But it's just learning to just respect your body, respect what it's been through, respect how it's got to the point it's at, like.
And to trust your ability, because you've shown that you work hard regardless of what you do.
Yeah. Like
we said earlier on, when you was in a good place, you was working hard to be good. When you was in a bad place, you was working hard to be bad.
You still,
That's within you, isn't it? So I think trusting yourself that whatever you apply yourself to, you're going to get a good outcome, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
Like, we all have self-doubt. I think everyone has an element of self-doubt. Like, that minute where you kind of sit there and go, shit, can I do this? Like, don't even think about it. Fucking do it, and then sit there afterwards and figure out how you did it. That's one thing my mum always used to say to me. So I used to stress about doing something. She'd go, don't sit there and think about how you're going to do it. Get it done, and then think about how you did it afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, she said, and I think that's one thing that's definitely always stuck with me with that. But, yeah, like, my body now, I just know that I want my children to feel comfortable. I'm very, very open when it comes to talking about my body. I'm very open when it comes to my body in general. Like, I'm definitely known for not being one for wearing many clothes. I don't. I like to be free. So it's like, very commonly at home, I walk around the house in just a t-shirt, and everyone will be like, oh yeah, but kids are in the house. And I went, so?
Yeah.
It's a fucking body. Like, it's, it genuinely doesn't fucking bother me. Like, it is a body. But I want my kids to respect their body, but also be comfortable with their body, and know that it's not something that has to be sexualized, or, do you know what I mean? It's,
yeah, I get it. Yeah, I think things like that can be overthought sometimes, can't they? But because you've also, let's be honest, been through quite extremes with your body as well. You've become to a point where you are proud of your body, and you want to be proud of who you are. So that's a good trait to teach your children.
Yeah, like, that's all I want my kids to. I just want my kids to be proud of who they are. Like, Casey, I turned around to her and I said, she did something, I can't remember what it was the other day, and I was just like, do you know what? I was having one of them moments, made a whole TikTok about it, because it was just one of them things, like, and I was going through all the pictures of me and Casey over the years. Casey kind of, when I think about it, has been my day one. I was 17. She's literally my best friend. Like, she has hit every point of my life. The highs, the lows, the bad days, the good days, moving house, everything that I've been through in my life, Casey's been there with me. So she literally is my day one. And it was like I was having a moment of the day and I was realising that, you know, she leaves school next year.
So she's 17 now?
No. So she's 15 in June.
So 16 when they
she
leave.
starts, she
Yeah.
starts year 11 this September. She leaves next year. And I was kind of thinking, fuck, she leaves school next year. She leaves school. Like, and I just had this like massive, like overwhelming feeling where it was like, there was kind of like this pride, but then there was like this sadness. Then there was kind of like, have I done enough? Have I been a good enough mum? Have I taught her enough?
Is she ready for the world?
Is she ready for the world? Like, but at the same time, then I see her and I look at her and I'm like, my kids know how to cook. My kids know how to clean. They can do washing. Like, she's straight A's at school. She's just come back from a trip from Oxford University. Like, I look at all these things and I look at her and I think, and just how she is and who she is. Like, she genuinely does not give a flying fuck on anyone's opinion about her. She doesn't care.
She's
like,
pretty powerful for a child, isn't it?
This is what I mean. She's so... I can't even put it into words. Like, she's so admirable. Like, I look at her and think, fuck, I wish I was like that when I was her age.
But
you
have made her like that.
This is it. And it was...
And that's something to be proud of.
My partner said that the other day.
Yeah, it's
she
true.
was like,
Very true.
She went, you don't realise, like, just down to your kids' manners and all that kind of stuff. She was like, you've done amazing. Yeah. And then I kind of sit there and I go, shit. Like, I have done that. Like, because I never want to be one of those parents that's like, I did that for my child. Like, but then I do look at it and I'm like, but to help guide her,
it's not easy as well, is it?
You know, it's God no.
But that I always look at the same thing, because I used to look back at my upbringing and pick at it because it got me in a certain way of life, if you like. But now I look at it and say, it's all learning curves for me, and I believe that I am the best dad I could be for my children. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
I think we all do to a degree, because that's why you do the things you do for your children. But I honestly proudly say I think I'm doing the right things, but that's all because of the stuff you learn, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that's obviously what you've done. You've learned so much, and you've now if you want to call it your second chances, your children, then, isn't it? Rather than so because you can't correct your upbringing and because you was a child, but you can make that happen going forward, and that's something to be proud of.
I think it's like the whole, like, I've been through all the things that have been very, very traumatic. That kind of touch base on, like, you know, abuse and things like that. And I think it's learning to break generational curses and patterns.
Agree.
And I know my mum went through similar. I know my grandparents went through similar. And I kind of sit there and I go, nah, I'm not doing that. Like, my children are going to see
what you want them to see.
What I want them to see.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I know the effects it has. Like, I've had therapy because of things that have happened in my life. I don't want to then pass that to my children or be one of those parents that's bitter and whatever else. And because then that has an effect on your child. And then you're teaching your children. And my kids know that they have a big say in a lot of things. I'm a parent, but I'm a friend. Like, my children do have a very big say, and I've always been like that. I can relate, and he wanted to go to the shops, and I says, you go pick your outfit then. We went to the shops, he was dressed as Batman wearing Hulk hands and a Transformer mask and a pair of wellies. And I was like, you want to go to the shop like that? He was like, yeah. And I was like, well, we're going. Let's go. Like, I've always been... Kids don't get... This is the one thing I definitely think. Kids do not get a lot of freedom until they are adults. They don't get a lot of say in things. They go to school, there's rules. They come home, there's rules. They go out, there's rules. There's no areas for kids to just be who they are.
Yeah, no, I like that.
So, for me, I'm like, my kids have say, Casey, how do you want your hair? I want to cut it all off. Her hair was past her bum. I cried, but I was like, it's your hair. If this makes you happy, you do it. Or when piercings, she's got piercings, like she's got septum, she's got a nose ring, she's got a few on her ears. I always let her have piercings. I don't care, because at the same time I look in the mirror and I go, I'm a hypocrite.
I'm wearing them. Yeah.
If I say no, but also at the same time, I know it's not going to affect her learning. It's not going to affect other aspects of her life. So, you know, down to chores in the house. We do have chores in the house, but here's your options. I just think there's just got to be, you've got to give your kids some options. They don't get a say anywhere in life, really, until they're
I like
enough.
that. I've never actually thought about it in that much depth personally, but I like it because that way you know when you see a kid go crazy, yeah, and they have a wappy hour or whatever, right? They have that because that's their outburst.
Yeah.
If you stop them having that, it's proven, isn't it, that it can mentally affect them as well, because you're putting them in a box as such. But that's your way of doing that, but in a different way, isn't it?
You think about it. You sit there for years telling a kid to stop crying. They're going to be very emotionally unstable adults.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
Because they don't know how to display emotion.
We've got a puppy not long ago. I don't know if you've seen it the other day. But,
yes,
but
I did.
I'm actually learning, and it's fucking crazy how similar it is. That apparently is the same thing with the puppy as well. Apparently, if you let it cry itself to sleep, you're causing anxiety. I mean, it's a little bit. It sounds a bit over the top, but I was like, I guess it's true, because it's the same as a kid, isn't it? Like, it's that whole, that they start to self-soothe, and I mean, obviously, there's mixed things about it.
I know, there's all these things, like when it comes to like this gentle parenting, and I'm that parent that's like, if you fucking leave the light on one more time.
Yeah.
Like, because that's another thing, I swear, horrifically. My mum always goes, you need to stop swearing in front of the kids. And I go, all right, but, Cheryl, have you heard my children swear? And she was like, well, no. I went, exactly. Because they won't. My daughter, my eldest, she swears in front of me, right? And because I said she can. I told her she can. Because I was like, as long as you're not using it at me, or to be nasty or anything like that, I don't care. She came in the other day, she went, Mum, honestly, one of the boys in my class today, she went, I could not learn anything. I went, why? She went, because he was being a dickhead. But for me, like, I'm not, again, I suppose this is just where I am different. Many of the kids in my daughter's school, their parents are way older than me. Like, I stick out like a sore thumb when I go into school for like awards nights and stuff. And I just feel like teach your kids to be who they are. Let them express themselves.
But at the end of the day, it's your rules, isn't it? Your rules, and that's all that people need to know.
Yeah.
Because we learn from our own experiences.
Yeah.
And again, if we all tried to be the same, you never fit in, do you? Because you're never going to all be the same.
I know my kids respect me. They always help me. Like, they got me a card after I had my operation. Like, they made me like little cards and things like that. And it's just little things that they write in them. The Christmas card they got me. So my partner got him a Christmas card to write on for, like, to give to me. And my eldest put, you're the best mum in the world, even though sometimes you think you aren't. I was like,
no, it's cute.
And that's very teary. So it's like, I know I'm doing a good job. And I know everything I've been through in my life has shaped me for where I am now. And I don't regret. It's not great what I've been through, but I don't regret any of it, because
it's taught you what you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't regret it, because everything I have been through has got me to where I am now. It's like I say, every shit relationship I've been through has finally got me to the one that is a good relationship. Like, so yeah, it's just don't live in the past.
Yeah, I love it. Well, look, I really, really appreciate you sharing your story today. I think, do you know what? The conversations that we've had today is gonna help a lot more people than we probably think right now. Do you know what I mean? Because you sharing that depth of where you've been with that. I mean, it's new to me, if I'm honest. Like the whole you know, anorexia sort of side of things. I've heard people. There's certain people I know have had it and stuff like that, but I've never known it in that depth and into that content. So, but I really appreciate you sharing it.
That's
And
all
I,
right.
you know, and I hope that everyone, you know, that's listening is gonna learn something, because there's lots of things that you've shared
I would say
in
we've covered
different aspects.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of.
I mean,
lot of
obviously,
different
if we had the
things,
off-air
but-
bits, it would have been it'd have been crazy. But no, I really appreciate you today. Thank you very much.
It's been great.
Where
Thank
can
you for having
people
me.
follow you and connect with you?
Instagram.
Yeah.
It's Lara Jade _666. TikTok, if you're bored and sad.
I'm not actually on
I'm gonna
TikTok.
get to 60,000.
Oh right, there you go. That's a plug.
Yeah. But mainly Instagram.
Yeah, love it. But yeah,
So
connect with Lara. I'm sure you will help a lot of people going forward as well.
That's it. I always have, like I say, I've always had people kind of drop in my inbox as well when it comes to stuff like that. So like, I'm always there to, even if it's just someone to vent to.
Yeah, appreciate
Yeah.
it. Spread the love. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.